Welcome to another edition of Eyes on SHU with Dr. Petillo. I'm Vinny Ebenau. Today is November 5th, 2012. And over the last couple of weeks here at Sacred Heart University, the community has undergone tragedy, triumph, and much more in the wake of despair, where we've had the loss of a student, Hurricane Sandy breezing through last week. And in the midst of that, we've come together closer as a community with love and care for each other, but for the community outreach as well, where we've looked at all those affected by this last storm, and in large part to the community outside our own. And in all of that, we've been able to find some comfort, find some time to relax in the wake of all the activities that are going on around campus, and that life does indeed move on, but not without a little bit of loss. And now I bring in the president of Sacred Heart University, Dr. Petillo, to comment more on the community outreach and what's been going on at Sacred Heart. And it hasn't been an easy couple of weeks for this community for sure. And with the loss of Will, the freshman student over in Rock-Holly a couple of weeks ago, it was a hard loss to swallow. Most of the students felt like a part of them was taken away. But at the same time, the quick turnaround where all these students were able to get together on a moment's notice, what does that tell you about these students reacting to someone they barely knew?
Yeah, these past few weeks really were very trying for us. But the incident that we had of the tragic loss of a student was an example of gold being tested by fire in this community. As someone said to me after the service, came up to me and said, it's not a community that's here at Sacred Heart, it's a family. I remember setting out the notice, or having the notice sent out at 6:30 that evening of Will's death. And 2.5 hours later, we had a crowd in the chapel that we have never seen. Not only was the chapel standing room only, but also the vestibule. And as you said, it's students who didn't even know of Will. It turned out because there was a solidarity. There certainly were his faculty advisors, some of his professors realized, and they came. There were some others from the community that came. It was truly a moment that of a service that Father Jerry led us in that bound us together, both in our despair, in our sadness, but also in the sense of hope. I was very impressed. In fact, as I said in my Twitter the following day, it was the proudest moment for me to be president of this university, because the young folk came out in great support to one another, and in support especially of their fellow students who lived on Roncalli 5.
How tough was it for some of those other students? Obviously, they lived on the Roncalli 5, but for a community and grieving in general, how were they able to, sort of move on from the event? Well,
I think the moving on is still a process. The closer they were to the event, the process still is unfolding. I was there with them when Dean Welk had to inform the students on Roncalli 5 of the death of Will. It was a remarkable moment of frozen, if you will, by the shock, and then immediately the tears of both young men and women for what they now understood to be reality. And so for some of those, especially most of them did not see Will. I did, and the one or two that did found him, I'm sure that process is ongoing. And of course, I think the fact of the support, the mutual support, is not just that week, but will continue to be needed as we go on. One of the parents, a mother, came up to me on Family Weekend and said, as tragic as it was, she thought it was an important learning experience for her son, and in fact did not want him to come home that weekend, wanted him to stay there in solidarity to learn from this very tragic situation.
And from that, I guess in chronological time, we eventually crossed over into Family Weekend, where people got to just let go and get back to a sense of normalcy, where they got to enjoy themselves, and their family, their friends, and everybody around them with these different events, these different foods, and at Mass. And did you feel like that family weekend was a way to, set a tone?
Well, it came at a great time because it was great for the university and for the community as a university. We had families coming back up to support, and interestingly enough, Will was remembered at the liturgy that evening, which parents who didn't even know of Will were just thought it was a great connectivity to what had happened the week before, and to show that although we were coming together as a family with parents and siblings and students, we didn't forget what had just happened, and that it did affect us, and it will affect us. And so the weekend was a great opportunity to have outsiders, ostensibly who are not here every day with us, but whom we, and I certainly consider parents, part of our community, but came to be another affirmation and resource for us. So I thought it was a great weekend. In fact, it was the second largest attendance we've ever had at a football game. And it was the largest we had at the cookout prior to the game. So it was a great opportunity for us to come together.
So it was an enjoyable weekend then?
It was. It was a tiring weekend, to say the least, because there were a slew of activities Friday, Saturday, and culminating with the family liturgy on Sunday morning.
Okay. And strangely enough, right after Family Weekend, it seems like the community went a little bit down a little bit as soon as Sandy brushed up against the coast. And it affected pretty much the tri-state area for the most part, especially our backyard in New Jersey. But we lost power up here around 5 or so on Monday, and it was out for a few days. And while we didn't suffer as much damage as other parts of the tri-state, even some of the barrier islands in Jersey, how did you feel that this community in particular reacted to the storm, and how we were able to receive food, hospitality?
Yeah, I think we reacted quite well. I mean, relatively speaking, and maybe even just onto its own, we didn't really suffer at all except for the power outage. I think we lost a tree. What really happened was the families of our students really suffered some severe damages along the Jersey coast and Staten Island, et cetera. Some very severe losses. We were not like that. And in fact, our friends at Fairfield University, they did suffer. A lot of their students, I think almost 300, were living at the beach, have no place to live, will never have a place to live in the next 5-6 months. So their university really has some issues. We don't. We lost power. I think we as an administrative team closed down on Wednesday until everybody can go home. But even at the first blush that weekend, then we only lost maybe 600. And then after we closed, maybe we were down to maybe 300-400. But students were resilient in it. Food service was great. We had activities for them. We even housed some UB students that needed to stay, and they put them on cots in the Pitt Center. So we did quite well, and we opened up again on Saturday for anybody to come, and we'll have classes again beginning today. Maybe not to the delight of the students, but we're having them.
It seemed like despite the storm, that there was a certain buzz among mingling students that, yeah, there was a storm, but we still all have each other. And I think that's a point that many people are starting to realize who lost homes, whether in Connecticut, New York, or New Jersey, that there's still life and that they can still enjoy each other.
Yeah, I think what I saw here, that once again there was a camaraderie here. I saw some students, because I spent a lot of the days eating over here with them, and just walking around or in the Pitt Center where there is a recharging. They were fine. They said to me, "We're fine. We got each other. We're doing well." I think our students were more resilient than some of us older folks who enjoy the comfort of heat and hot water, et cetera. They enjoyed the company of each other. So I think it went well, and our athletic teams were here and in and out. So it was almost as if it was business as usual without some of the accoutrements that we have now.
What will the rest of the academic calendar look like with community missing a week of school? Does that factor into the end of the semester?
Well, no, at this point, in speaking with the provost over these last few days and her with the deans, and we'll be meeting later, I don't think there's going to be an extension of the semester, but that their faculty will need to make up those hours by either other assignments to the students or whatever, and clearly exams, and I should get this, exams will need to be given during exam week. If a faculty member does that, he or she is in serious violation of their contract and their obligation, and that will not be tolerated, because that's just cheating the students for their own personal convenience.
What is the Sacred Heart community doing to outreach to those affected areas? I know student government's putting on a vigil, but is there anything else that's going on?
No, I think we're allowing and encouraging the student government to take the lead on this. For the community, institutionally, we did it when University of Bridgeport students needed it, a space. Less today, we were requested if we would allow the National Guard to use the Pitt Center. We were their second choice. Their first choice was available. So we were helping out as such as that. I think once we got heat and water back, we were offering the Pitt Center for anybody from the community, from the university community that needed the luxury of a hot shower, et cetera. So, but in terms of relief efforts, really looking for the student government to take that.
Okay, and I guess I'll finish up with a lighter note. Michael Iannazzi, the clown around campus, recently informed me that he had some trouble at trivia night. Would you ever put him on your team?
No.
Simple as that?
Yeah, very simple. He may have come from those Ivy Leagues, but they can't meet at the trivia.
That's Dr. Petillo. I'm Vinny Ebenau. This is On SHU with the president of Sacred Heart University, Dr. Petillo. And until next time, I'll see you around campus.